The dust never settled on Nevara Prime. Hana pulled her scarf tighter around her face as another gust of wind swept through the refugee camp. She had been working here for 8 months now, and still the red dust got everywhere. In her hair, in her food, in the medicine supplies she distributed each morning. She walked between the rows of shelters. They were not much, just metal frames with heavy fabric stretched over them, but they kept the wind out, and that was something. Inside these shelters lived families from 6 different alien species. All of them had run from war. All of them had lost their homes. Hana carried a box of food packets. She stopped at each shelter and handed them out. The families knew her now. Some of the aliens nodded when they saw her. Others made sounds that meant thank you in their languages. Hana had learned to recognize most of them. She reached the medical tent and set down her box. Inside, 3 other human workers were treating sick refugees. Hana was not a doctor, but she helped where she could. She cleaned wounds, held frightened children while doctors worked, and brought water to those too weak to get it themselves. Hana, we have a new arrival, called Hyun. He was one of the doctors, a quiet man who had worked in refugee camps for 15 years. A child, Velani species, she is alone. Hana felt her heart sink. Alone meant lost. It meant family members were dead or missing. It meant a child had seen terrible things. She followed Hyun to a corner of the tent. There, sitting on a medical cot, was a small Velani child. The girl looked about 6 years old in human terms, though Hana knew Velani aged differently. Her skin had a soft blue glow like moonlight on water. Her eyes were large and dark, taking up much of her delicate face. She had 3 fingers on each hand, long and graceful. The child was shaking, not from cold but from fear. Her eyes darted around the tent, watching every movement. "She will not speak," Hyun said softly. "We have tried standard Velani, even some basic gesture language. Nothing." Hana nodded. She had seen this before. Trauma made some children go silent. Words stopped coming when the world became too frightening. "I will sit with her," Hana said. Hyun looked grateful. He had other patients to see. He left Hana alone with the child. Hana pulled up a stool and sat down slowly. She made sure to keep some distance. She did not want to scare the girl more. For a long time, Hana just sat there. She did not speak. She did not reach out. She just existed in the same space, calm and steady. The child's shaking began to slow. After several minutes, Hana reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small food bar, the kind made for children. It had a sweet taste that most species could eat safely. She unwrapped it slowly, making sure the child could see what she was doing. Then she broke off a piece and held it out in her open palm. The child stared at the food, then at Hana's face, then back at the food. "It is okay," Hana said gently. "You do not have to take it, but it is here if you want it." She set the piece down on the cot between them and went back to sitting quietly. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, the child's hand moved. Those 3 delicate fingers reached out and picked up the food. She brought it to her mouth and ate it quickly, her eyes never leaving Hana. Hana broke off another piece and set it down. The child took it faster this time. They continued like this until half the food bar was gone. The child's shaking had stopped completely now. Her large eyes looked less wild, more focused. Hana began to hum. It was an old song her mother used to sing. She did not know why she chose it. The melody was simple and soft. She hummed while she broke off another piece of food. The child tilted her head, listening. "My mother used to sing this to me," Hana said quietly. "When I was scared, it always made me feel better." She held out her hand with the food, palm up. This time the child reached out and took it directly from Hana's hand. Their fingers touched briefly. The child's skin was cool and smooth. "Do you have a name?" Hana asked. The child looked at her for a long moment. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she spoke. "Liz." Hana smiled. "Liz, that is a beautiful name. I am Hana." Hana, the child repeated. She seemed to test the word in her mouth. Yes, and you are safe here, Liz. No one will hurt you. The child's eyes filled with something that looked like tears, though Velani did not cry the same way humans did. A faint shimmer appeared in her eyes, like light reflecting off water. Hana slowly extended her hand, palm still open. May I? Liz looked at the hand. Then she reached out and placed her small three-fingered hand in Hana's palm. Hana closed her fingers gently around it. She could feel the child's rapid pulse. There, Hana said softly, you are not alone anymore. They sat like that for a long time. Hana continued to hum. Liz held her hand and listened. Other workers moved around the tent, but Hana kept her focus on this one frightened child. As the afternoon light began to fade, Liz spoke again. Her voice was stronger now. You are like her. Hana paused her humming. Like who? The soft voice human. Liz's eyes were fixed on Hana's face. The one who hums, who holds hands. Hana felt confused but did not want to press too hard. I am glad if I remind you of someone kind. Liz moved closer. She was not shaking anymore. Instead, she seemed focused, as if trying to remember something important. She had soft hands too, Liz said. My mother tells stories about her, the human who taught our people the healing touch. Your mother, Hana felt a spark of hope. Is your mother here in the camp? But Liz was not listening to the question. She was staring at Hana's face with an intensity that made Hana uncomfortable. The child reached up slowly. Her 3 fingers touched Hana's cheek, gentle as butterfly wings. You have her face, Liz whispered. The same eyes, the same soft way. I do not understand, Hana said. Who are you talking about? Liz's hand moved to rest over Hana's hand. The child's large dark eyes seemed to look right through her. When she spoke again, her voice carried a certainty that made no sense for such a young child. Me son, Liz said clearly. My mother knows me son, the human who saved us. You are like her. The world seemed to stop. Hana's breath caught in her chest. Her hand went cold. The noise of the tent faded away until there was only the child's voice echoing in her mind. Me son. That was her mother's name. Her mother who had died 15 years ago. Her mother who had worked for the human diplomatic service. Her mother who had been killed in what they said was a transport accident in deep space. No alien should know that name. No Velani child on this remote colony world should be able to speak it. What did you say? Hana's voice came out rough. Me son, Liz repeated. My mother knows her. She tells me stories about the human with soft hands who taught us how to heal with touch, how to comfort the sick. Me son. Hana stared at the child. Her mind raced. It was impossible. It had to be impossible. Her mother's work had been classified. Her mother had died far from any Velani worlds. But this child knew her name. This child knew details about her. The humming, the gentle hands, the soft voice. How, Hana whispered, how do you know that name? But she already knew this conversation had just changed everything. Nothing would be the same after this moment. The dust continued to blow outside the tent. The sun continued to set. But Hana sat frozen, holding the hand of an alien child who had just spoken her dead mother's name. Hana did not sleep that night. She lay in her small quarters, staring at the ceiling. The wind rattled the walls, but she barely heard it. All she could hear was that small voice saying her mother's name. Me son. She had not spoken that name aloud in years. Her mother had been gone for 15 years. The pain had dulled, but it never truly left. And now a child, an alien child from a species her mother should never have met, knew her name. Hana rolled over and pulled out her personal tablet. She accessed her mother's service record, the one the government had given her after the funeral. It was short. Me son had worked for the diplomatic service for 20 years. She had helped negotiate trade agreements, cultural exchanges, peaceful resolutions to conflicts. Then there was a gap. 3 years where the record simply said, Deep Space Assignment Classified. After that gap, her mother had returned to regular diplomatic work. 2 years later, she died in what they called a transport malfunction, an accident. No one to blame, just bad luck. Hana had never questioned it before. Why would she? People died in space accidents. It was rare, but it happened. But now she questioned everything. She got up before dawn. She could not wait any longer. She needed answers. The camp was quiet in the early morning. Most refugees were still sleeping. Hana made her way to the medical tent. She found Di-hyun already there, preparing supplies for the day. I need your help, Hana said. Di-hyun looked up. He saw her face and set down what he was holding. What is wrong? That child, Liz. She said something yesterday, something impossible. What did she say? Hana hesitated. It sounded crazy even in her own mind. But she told him. She told him about her mother's name, about the details Liz knew, about the gap in her mother's service record. Di-hyun listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. You think your mother met the Villani, he said. I do not know what to think, but I need to talk to Liz again. I need to understand. Then we will talk to her together, Di-hyun said. 2 of us might help her feel more comfortable. They found Liz where Hana had left her the evening before. The child was awake, sitting on the cot. When she saw Hana, her face brightened. You came back, Liz said. I promised you were safe, Hana said. I keep my promises. She sat down on the stool. Di-hyun pulled up another one. Liz, I need to ask you about yesterday, about what you said. The child nodded. The name you said, me son, where did you hear it? From my mother, from other adults in my family group. They tell stories about the humans who came when our people were dying. Hana felt her pulse quicken. When was this? When did the humans come? Liz tilted her head, thinking. Before I was born, long ago. My mother was young then. She said the sickness was taking everyone. Our doctors could not stop it. Then the humans came. They brought strange ideas. They said touching and holding could heal. They said comfort was medicine. Di-hyun leaned forward. The Villani plague, he said quietly to Hana. I read about it in medical history. It was 30 years ago, a disease that attacked their nervous system. Millions died before they found a treatment. Me son was one of the humans, Liz continued. My mother says me son taught them everything. How to hold the sick, how to sing to them, how to use gentle hands. She says me son stayed even when it was dangerous. She says me son was the bravest human she ever met. Hana's hands were shaking. She clasped them together. What else did your mother say about her? Liz closed her eyes, remembering. Me son had dark hair. She always hummed when she worked. She had a smile that made people feel safe. She would sit with the dying and hold their hands until they were gone. She taught us that being present was important. That touch connected hearts across species. Each detail hit Hana like a physical blow. Her mother had always hummed while working. Her mother had dark hair. Her mother believed in the power of presence. My mother says me son saved her life, Liz said softly, not just from the sickness. My mother was so sad after her own mother died. Me son sat with her every day, just sat there holding her hand. Me son could not speak our language well and my mother could not speak standard yet, but they did not need words. Me son taught her that grief does not need to be carried alone. Tears ran down Hana's face. She did not try to stop them. Is me son your mother? Liz asked gently. She was, Hana whispered. She died 15 years ago. Liz reached out and took Hana's hand just as Hana had taken hers the day before. Then I am sorry. The stories about her are beautiful. She must have been a very good mother. I thought she died in an accident, Hana said. I did not know she had been to your world. I did not know she had saved anyone. Why would they not tell you? Di-hyun asked quietly. I do not know, but I am going to find out. She spent the rest of the morning going through restricted databases. Di-hyun helped her, using his medical credentials to access files that would normally be locked. They worked in his small office, searching through decades of records. Finally, they found it. First contact mission, Velani Prime, 30 years ago. A small human team sent to assist with the plague that was destroying the Velani civilization. The mission was classified because the Velani government had requested secrecy. They did not want other species to know how badly they had suffered. Mi-sun's name was on the team roster. She had been listed as a cultural liaison and medical support specialist. The mission had lasted 3 years. 3 years, Hana said. She was gone for 3 years and never told me anything about it. You would have been very young then, Di-hyun pointed out. I was 5 when she left, 8 when she came back. I remember asking where she had been. She said she was helping people far away. She never said who. Hana kept reading. The reports described how the plague worked. It attacked through emotional pathways. The Velani had advanced technology, but their medicine was based on logic and analysis. They treated bodies, not minds. They did not understand that emotional trauma could cause physical illness. The human team had introduced concepts of comfort care. They showed the Velani that touching the sick, holding them, speaking softly to them, all of these things helped the body heal. It seemed primitive to the Velani at first, but it worked. Mi-sun had trained hundreds of Velani caregivers. She had spent 3 years teaching them that healing was not just about medicine. It was about connection. She changed their entire approach to medicine, Di-hyun said, reading over Hana's shoulder. Look at this. After the plague ended, the Velani integrated human comfort care techniques into all their medical practices. They still use them today. Hana felt pride swell in her chest. Her mother had done this. Her mother had saved millions of lives, and no one had ever told her. But there was something else. The mission reports ended 30 years ago when the plague was cured, but her mother had not died until 15 years ago. What had happened in those 15 years? There is more, Hana said. There has to be more. She searched deeper, but the files were locked. She needed higher clearance. I need to find someone who was there, Hana said. Someone who knew my mother during that mission. Where would you even start? Di-hyun asked. Hana looked at him. I start with Liz. She said her mother knew Mi-sun. Her mother was there. Do you know where her mother is? No, but Liz does. They returned to the medical tent. Liz was playing with a small toy another worker had given her. When she saw them, she set it down. Liz, Hana said, I need to find your mother. Do you know where she is? Yes, Liz said. She is at the northern settlement, 2 hours from here by transport. We were separated during the evacuation. I got put on the wrong ship. Can you take me to her? Liz nodded eagerly. She will be so happy to meet you. When I tell her your name is Hana, when I tell her you are Mi-sun's daughter, she will cry happy tears. Why? Hana asked. Why will she cry? Because she has waited 30 years to thank Mi-sun, Liz said simply. She has waited 30 years to tell her that everything she taught us is still alive, that we still use the healing touch, that we still remember. Hana felt something break open inside her chest. She cannot thank her. My mother is gone. Then she will thank you, Liz said, because you are Mi-sun's gift to the world. You are proof that her kindness lives on. Hana looked at Di-hyun. He nodded. I will arrange transport, he said. You should go tomorrow, take Liz home, find your answers. That night Hana packed a small bag. She included a picture of her mother, one of the few she still had. In it, Mi-sun was smiling, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes warm and kind. Tomorrow she would meet someone who had known her mother in ways she never had. Tomorrow she would learn the truth about those 3 missing years. Tomorrow she would begin to understand who her mother really was. And maybe, just maybe, she would understand why no one had ever told her the truth about how Mi-sun died. The transport vehicle bounced along the rough road. Hana held onto the safety strap as red dust clouds rose behind them. Beside her, Liz pressed her face to the window, watching the landscape pass. The child had been quiet since they left, but her excitement was clear in the way she fidgeted with her hands. The northern settlement appeared on the horizon. It was smaller than the main refugee camp, just a collection of permanent structures built from local stone. The Vellani who lived here had been on Nevara Prime longer, had started to build something lasting. As the transport stopped, Liz jumped out before Hana could even unbuckle her safety harness. The child ran toward the buildings, calling out in the Vellani language. Her voice was high and clear, cutting through the wind. A figure emerged from one of the buildings, tall and graceful, with the same blue-glowing skin as Liz. The woman dropped what she was carrying and opened her arms. Liz crashed into her and they held each other tightly. Hana climbed out of the transport more slowly. She watched the reunion, feeling both happy for them and somehow very alone. She touched the picture in her pocket, the one of her mother. The Vellani woman looked up from embracing Liz. Her eyes found Hana and she went very still. She said something to Liz in their language. Liz nodded eagerly and pointed at Hana. The woman walked toward Hana. She moved with the natural grace all Vellani had, but there was something else in her movement. A weight, the kind that came from living through terrible things. "You are Hana," the woman said in Standard. Her accent was thick, but her words were clear. "Liz told me you would come. She said you have her face, me son's face." "You are Shurev?" Hana asked. "I am." Shurev stopped a few feet away. She was staring at Hana with an intensity that made Hana uncomfortable. "You do have her eyes, the same warmth in them, the same gentle look." "Liz said you knew my mother." "I did more than know her," Shurev said softly. "She saved my life. She taught me everything I know about healing. She was my teacher, my friend. When I had nothing, when everyone I loved had died, me son sat with me and showed me I could survive." Hana felt tears starting again. She seemed to cry constantly these past 2 days. "Please," Shurev said, "come inside. Let me tell you about the woman your mother was. Let me tell you what she did for my people." Shurev's home was simple but comfortable. She made tea, a Vellani blend that tasted like flowers and earth. They sat on low cushions while Liz played quietly in the corner with other children who had gathered. "I was 15 when the plague came," Shurev began. "In human years, that would be about 16. I was training to be a medical technician. I wanted to help people. Then the sickness started." She wrapped her 3-fingered hands around her teacup. "It killed my mother first, then my father, then my 2 brothers. Within 3 months I had no family left. The sickness took them so fast. One day they were fine, the next they could not move. The day after that they were gone." Hana listened, not interrupting. "Our doctors tried everything. Our medicine was advanced. We had technology that could repair damaged organs, cure genetic disorders, even extend life. But this sickness was different. It attacked the nervous system through emotional pathways. Grief made it worse. Fear made it spread faster. Isolation made it deadly. Our doctors did not understand. They quarantined the sick. They kept them alone in sterile rooms to prevent spread of disease. But that isolation is what killed most of them. They died alone, in fear, and that emotional trauma accelerated the sickness." Shurev took a sip of tea. "That is when the humans came. Your government offered to help. They sent a small team, medical specialists, cultural experts, and support staff. Me son was listed as cultural liaison." "But she was more than that," Hana said quietly. "So much more. The human team analyzed our treatment methods. They saw what we could not see. We were treating bodies, but the sickness attacked through the mind and heart. We needed to treat the whole person." Me son introduced concepts that seemed primitive to us. She said we should hold the sick, touch them, speak softly to them. She said we should stay with them, not leave them alone. She said we should sing to them, tell them stories, let them know they were not forgotten. Our lead doctors thought it was nonsense. They said emotional support was not medicine. Mi-sun did not argue. She just asked permission to try her methods with those who were dying anyway, those we had given up on. Shurev's eyes grew distant, remembering. I was one of those. I had stopped caring if I lived or died. I had the sickness inside me and I welcomed it. I wanted to join my family. The Villani doctors left me in an isolation room. They had done all they could. Then Mi-sun came. She was wearing a protective suit, but she removed it. She sat beside my bed. She took my hand. I was too weak to pull away. She said, I know you are tired. I know you want to rest. But I am going to sit here with you and you will not be alone. Whatever happens, you will not be alone. And she stayed. For 3 days she barely left my side. She brought other humans who took turns sitting with me. They hummed songs. They told stories. They held my hand. When I was too sick to move, they bathed me gently. When I cried, they wiped my tears. On the 4th day, I was still alive. The sickness had not killed me. Mi-sun said it was because I was not alone with my fear. She said the human touch, the presence, had given my body the strength to fight. Hana was crying freely now. This was her mother. This was exactly something her mother would do. Mi-sun trained me when I recovered. She taught me everything. How to approach someone who is suffering. How to make your touch gentle but confident. How to be present without overwhelming. How to listen with your whole attention. How to use your voice as comfort. She trained hundreds of us. We went to other hospitals, other cities. We showed the Villani doctors that their medicine was good, but it needed the human element. Touch, presence, compassion. Within a year, the death rate dropped by 60%. Within 2 years, we had controlled the plague. Within 3 years, it was gone. Mi-sun's method saved millions of lives. Hana wiped her eyes. Why did no one tell me? Why was this kept secret? Shurev's expression darkened. Politics, pride. After the plague ended, some in our government were embarrassed. They did not want other species to know that the great Villani civilization had been saved by what they called primitive human techniques. They did not want to admit that our advanced medicine had failed where human compassion succeeded. They classified the whole mission. They ordered the human team to leave. They tried to erase what happened. But Mi-sun did not leave right away, Hana said. She knew somehow, felt it in her bones. Shurev looked at her sharply. How did you know? Because that is who she was. She would not leave if there was still work to do. You are right, Shurev set down her tea. There were children, a small group who still carried markers of the sickness. It was dormant but could activate again. They needed continued treatment for 6 more months. The Villani government said they would handle it, but Mi-sun did not trust them. She had seen how quickly they wanted to forget. She was afraid they would put those children in isolation again, and if the sickness returned, they would die. So she stayed. She stayed in secret. A group of us, those she had trained, we helped her. We hid her in our communities. We brought the children to her for treatment. We protected her. For how long? 6 months. She completed the treatment. Every child survived. But then the government found out. There were hardliners, officials who believed the humans had humiliated our people. They were angry that Mi-sun had defied the order to leave. Shurev's hands trembled. They sent security forces. We got a warning just in time. We helped Mi-sun evacuate the last group of children to a safe location. But the security forces found us during the evacuation. Hana stood up, her heart was pounding. What happened? There was an accident. The transport we were using, it malfunctioned. The security forces said it was mechanical failure, but we all knew they had sabotaged it. It was meant to look like an accident. Mi-sun was on that transport. She was. She stayed with the children until the last moment. She made sure they got off safely, but she did not make it out in time. The world tilted. Hana sat back down hard on the cushion. "They killed her," she whispered. "It was not an accident." "She died protecting children who were not her species," Shurev said, tears running down her glowing cheeks. "She died making sure they were safe. Those children grew up healthy because of her. I am alive because of her. Millions of Velani live because of what she taught us." "Why?" Hana's voice broke. "Why did she do it? Why did she stay?" "Because that is who she was," Shurev said simply. "She could not leave people to suffer if she had the power to help. She chose to stay. She chose to risk everything. And she died making sure those children lived." Hana could not speak. She could only cry. Shurev moved closer and did something very human. She put her arm around Hana's shoulders. "Your mother is honored among my people," Shurev said softly. "Those of us who remember, we keep her memory alive. We teach our children about Mi-sun, the human with soft hands who taught us that healing requires more than medicine. It requires heart." "Can you show me?" Hana whispered. "Can you show me how she is remembered?" Shurev stood and held out her hand. "Come with me." Shurev led Hana through the settlement. Liz followed behind them, quiet and observant. Other Velani watched as they passed. Some nodded at Shurev. Others stared at Hana with curious eyes. They walked to the edge of the settlement where the buildings ended and natural landscape began. There, sheltered by tall rock formations, was a garden. It was not large, but it was carefully maintained. Earth plants grew alongside Velani ones. Flowers that Hana recognized from her childhood home bloomed in neat rows. In the center stood a simple stone marker. Hana approached slowly. The stone had writing carved into it in both Standard and Velani languages. She read the Standard. "Mi-sun, teacher, healer, friend." She showed us that the strongest medicine is compassion. She taught us that to heal others, we must first connect with them. Her legacy lives in every gentle hand that comforts suffering, remembered by those she saved. Hana fell to her knees in front of the stone. Her hands touched the carved letters of her mother's name. The stone was warm from the sun. "We built this 10 years ago," Shurev said quietly. "When enough of us had settled here, we wanted a place to remember her, a place to teach our children about what she did." "The flowers," Hana whispered. "These are earth flowers. My mother loved these." "We have carried seeds across star systems," Shurev said. "Wherever Velani refugees go, we plant these flowers. We call them Mi-sun's gift. They remind us of her teachings." Hana touched a blue flower, its petals soft under her fingers. "She grew these in our garden at home. I remember helping her plant them." Liz came and sat beside Hana. The child picked one of the flowers and handed it to her. "My mother says that when you care for something, it grows. Mi-sun cared for our people, and we grew strong again." Hana held the flower carefully. She looked up at Shurev. "The report I found said the mission was classified, that your government wanted it kept secret, but you built a memorial." Shurev's expression hardened. "The government tried to erase the truth, but they could not erase us. Those of us who survived, who were taught by Mi-sun, we refused to forget. We told our children. They told theirs. The truth spreads in whispers when it cannot be spoken aloud." "What about the officials who killed her? Were they punished?" "No," Shurev said bitterly. "The official story says it was an accident, a mechanical failure. No one was blamed. The transport investigation was classified, the evidence sealed." "But you know the truth." "We all know the truth. Those of us who were there, we saw what happened." Shurev sat down on a nearby rock. Her voice grew heavy with old pain. "The transport was ready to leave. The children were on board safe. Mi-sun was helping the last one into their seat. Then security forces arrived. They ordered the transport to wait. They said they needed to inspect it. Mi-sun knew if they inspected it, they would find the children. They would take them. And who knew what would happen then? So she told the pilot to take off immediately." The pilot hesitated. Mi-sun pulled her emergency access card and overrode the controls. The transport started to lift off. That is when the security forces opened fire. Hana's breath caught. They shot at a transport full of children. They claimed later they were shooting at the engines, trying to disable it. But their shots hit the fuel line. The transport was already in the air when it exploded. Mi-sun had just gotten off. She had jumped out at the last second to distract the security forces, to give the pilot time to escape. She was on the ground when it exploded. The blast killed her instantly. The children. The pilot got them high enough. The explosion damaged the transport, but it stayed in the air long enough to crash land safely. All the children survived. Mi-sun's last act was saving them. Hana could not breathe. The weight of it crushed down on her chest. Her mother had not died in an accident. She had died a hero. She had died protecting children who were not even her own species. And no one had ever told Hana the truth. Why? Hana's voice was raw. Why did no one tell me? Why did they lie? Because telling the truth would have meant admitting what the Velani government did, Shurav said. It would have meant an investigation, potentially war between our species. Your government made a choice. They classified everything. They gave the families of the mission team a simple story, an accident in space, no one to blame. They chose politics over truth, Hana said. They chose peace over justice, Shurav corrected gently. I do not agree with it, but I understand it. At that time, humans and Velani were just beginning real diplomatic relations. A scandal like this could have destroyed everything. It could have cost millions of lives in conflict. So my mother died, and they buried the truth with her. The official truth, yes, but the real truth lives here. Shurav touched her chest. In those of us who remember, in the techniques we still use, in the children who grew up healthy because of her sacrifice. She gestured around the settlement. Every Velani here knows about Mi-sun. We teach our young about her. Some in our government would punish us if they knew, but we do it anyway. She deserves to be remembered. The children she saved, Hana said, where are they now? Scattered across many worlds. They are adults now with children of their own. One is a doctor, two are teachers, one is a pilot. One is a government official working to change the laws that led to Mi-sun's death. They all know who saved them. They all carry her legacy forward. I named my daughter after one of them, Shurav added. The real Liz was 5 years old when Mi-sun saved her. She grew up to become a caregiver, teaching Mi-sun's methods to others. She died 2 years ago, still doing the work Mi-sun taught her. Hana looked at young Liz, who was sitting quietly nearby. You named your daughter after someone my mother saved. I wanted her to carry the name forward, to remember that compassion and courage are worth honoring. Hana stood slowly. She walked around the garden looking at each plant, each carefully tended flower. She saw the love in this place, the devotion, the refusal to forget. I do not know what to do with this, she said finally. I do not know how to carry this knowledge. You are already carrying it, Shurav said. Liz told me what you do. You work with refugees. You comfort the frightened. You sit with those who are alone. You are doing exactly what Mi-sun did. You are living her legacy without even knowing it. But I did not know, Hana said. All this time I have been doing work like hers and I did not know. I thought she died in a meaningless accident. I thought her work was just ordinary diplomatic service. And now you know the truth, Shurav said. Now you know that you are not just following in her footsteps. You are carrying forward a mission she died for. That gives meaning to everything you do. Hana knelt by the memorial stone again. She placed the flower Liz had given her at its base. I wish I could have told her. I wish I could have told her that I understand now, that I am proud of what she did. She knew, Shurav said softly. Mi-sun talked about you. In those last months when she was in hiding with us. She missed you terribly, but she said she needed to finish her work so she could return to you knowing she had done everything possible to protect innocent lives. She said you would understand when you were older. She said you had her heart. Tears fell freely down Hana's face. She was right, I do understand. I would have made the same choice, but it hurts so much to know the truth. Truth often hurts before it heals, Shurev said. They sat in the garden until the sun began to set. Other Velani came to pay respects at the memorial. Each one placed a flower. Each one stood for a moment in silence. Some touched the stone gently with their three-fingered hands. An elderly Velani approached Hana. He spoke in their language to Shurev, who translated. He says he was dying when Mi-sun came to him. He says she held his hand for 2 days until the fever broke. He says he has lived 30 extra years because of her. He wants you to know that your mother's kindness gave him time to see his grandchildren grow up. More came with similar stories. Each one had been touched by Mi-sun. Each one carried memories of her gentle hands, her soft voice, her unwavering presence. As the last light faded from the sky, Hana realized something. Her mother had not died and been forgotten. Her mother had died and become part of something larger. She lived on in every person she had touched, in every life she had saved, in every gentle hand that comforted suffering. What do I do now? Hana asked Shurev. Do I try to expose the truth? Do I demand justice? Shurev considered this. You could. You could search for evidence, fight for an investigation. You could try to hold those responsible accountable. But they are likely dead or beyond reach. The government officials involved would deny everything. You would spend years fighting a battle you might not win. And in the meantime, what about the work you are doing now? What about the refugees who need you? So I do nothing. Hana felt anger rise in her chest. No, Shurev said firmly. You do everything. You continue her work. You teach others her methods. You make sure that every person you touch feels the same compassion she gave. That is justice. That is how you honor her. Revenge would feel better, Hana said darkly. Perhaps, but it would not heal anyone. Mi-sun did not heal through anger. She healed through love. If you want to truly honor her, you heal through love too. Hana knew Shurev was right, but it did not make the pain less sharp. They returned to Shurev's home as full night fell. Over a simple dinner, they talked more about Mi-sun. Shurev shared stories that made Hana laugh and cry, small moments, silly jokes Mi-sun had told, her terrible attempts to speak Velani, her habit of humming off-key. These were the details no official report would ever contain. These were the pieces that made Mi-sun real again, not just a name on a classified file. When it was time to leave, Shurev gave Hana a small plant cutting from the garden. Grow this, she said. Wherever you are, grow Mi-sun's flowers. Teach others what they mean. Keep the memory alive. Hana held the cutting carefully. I will, I promise. Liz hugged Hana tightly. Will you come back? I will, Hana said. We are family now, in the way that matters most. As the transport carried Hana back to the main camp, she watched the stars appear in the darkening sky. Her mother was out there somewhere, scattered in space. But she was also here, in the flowers, in the stories, in every gentle hand that reached out to comfort suffering. Hana touched the photograph in her pocket. I understand now, Mom, she whispered. I finally understand. 3 months had passed since Hana learned the truth about her mother. She stood in front of a group of 20 aid workers, human and alien alike, in a training room at the refugee camp. The plant cutting Shurev had given her now grew in a pot by the window, its blue flowers bright against the red dust outside. Comfort care is not just about medical treatment, Hana said to the group. It is about presence. It is about connecting with someone in their most vulnerable moment and showing them they are not alone. She demonstrated on a volunteer, showing the proper way to hold someone's hand. Not too tight, not too loose. Firm enough to feel secure, gentle enough to feel caring. Many species have different concepts of personal space, she continued. But almost all respond to gentle, respectful touch. The key is to ask first, to move slowly, and to pay attention to their reactions. A young human named Bora raised her hand. What if they refuse touch? What if their culture does not allow it? Then you find other ways to show presence, Hana said. You sit nearby, you speak softly, you bring them water or food. You simply exist in the same space, calm and steady. Sometimes just knowing someone is there is enough. Di-Hyun entered the room and nodded at Hana. She wrapped up the session and dismissed the group. They filed out, chatting among themselves about what they had learned. That was good, Di-Hyun said. You are a natural teacher. My mother was the teacher, Hana said. I am just sharing what she created. You are doing more than that. You are building on it. You have trained over 200 workers in the past 3 months. The entire camp has better patient outcomes because of these techniques. Hana looked at the plant by the window. I wish she could see this. I wish she could know that her work continues. I think she does know, Di-Hyun said, in whatever way the universe allows. There was a commotion outside. Hana and Di-Hyun went to investigate. They found a new transport arriving with refugees. This group looked particularly rough. Their clothes were torn, their faces marked by exhaustion and fear. Among them was a small child, no more than 4 or 5 in appearance. The child belonged to a species Hana had not seen before. They had scaled skin in shades of green and gold, with large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The child was alone, crying in a high-pitched sound that cut through the air. No adult came forward to claim them. The transport workers looked uncertain about what to do. Hana walked forward slowly. She knelt down a few feet from the child, making herself smaller, less threatening. "Hello," she said softly. "My name is Hana. What is your name?" The child continued crying, but the sound became quieter. They looked at Hana with those enormous eyes. "You are safe here," Hana said. "I know you are scared, I know everything feels strange, but you are safe." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small food bar, the same kind she had given Liz months ago. She unwrapped it slowly and broke off a piece. She held it out in her open palm. "Are you hungry?" she asked. The child's crying stopped. They stared at the food. Hana set it on the ground between them and moved her hand back. "It is okay. You do not have to take it, but it is here if you want it." The child watched her carefully. Then very slowly they reached out and took the food. They ate it quickly, their eyes never leaving Hana. "Good," Hana said gently. "There is more if you want it." She broke off another piece. This time the child took it directly from her hand. Their small scaled fingers brushed against Hana's palm. They were cold, trembling. "You are so brave," Hana said. "Coming all this way, that took great courage." The child made a sound, not quite a word but close. Hana began to hum. It was the same song her mother had hummed to her, the same song she had hummed to Liz. The child tilted their head, listening. From the crowd of refugees, Hana heard someone gasp. She looked up and saw Liz running toward her. Shurev followed behind, moving more slowly but with purpose. "You are here," Hana said, surprised. "We were transferred," Shurev explained. "This camp has better medical facilities. We arrived this morning." Liz knelt beside Hana. The young Velani looked at the scared child and smiled. "Hello, little one," Liz said in standard. "My name is Liz. This is my friend Hana. She helped me when I was scared too." The child looked between Hana and Liz, uncertain. "Would you like to meet more friends?" Liz asked. "We have food and warm places to sleep, and Hana will make sure you are safe, she promises." The child looked at Hana. "Promise," they said in a tiny voice. "I promise," Hana said. "You will not be alone here." The child reached out and took Hana's hand with both of their small ones. Hana stood slowly, keeping hold of that small hand, and led the child toward the medical tent. Liz walked on the other side, chattering cheerfully about the camp and all the kind people who worked there. Shurev fell into step beside Hana. "You have her gift," the Velani said quietly. "The way you approach that child, the patience, the gentleness, Me son lives through you. I learned from the best teacher, Hana said, even if I did not know I was learning at the time. Over the following weeks, Hana's training program grew. More workers wanted to learn the techniques. She taught them about presence, about gentle touch, about the healing power of simply being there for someone in pain. Liz became her assistant. The young Velani had a natural gift for comforting others. She would sit with new arrivals, children especially, and talk to them about her own fears when she first arrived. She showed them that fear was normal, but it would pass, that they would be okay. The nameless child they had found turned out to be named Kes. Their species was called the Torvin, a peaceful people whose world had been destroyed by war. Kes had been separated from their family during evacuation, like Liz had been. Hana spent hours each day sitting with Kes, teaching them standard, making sure they ate, helping them sleep through nightmares. It was exhausting work, but it was also the most meaningful thing Hana had ever done. One evening, as Hana sat with Kes reading a story, the child looked up at her. "Why do you help me?" Kes asked. "I am not your kind, I am not your family." Hana thought about her mother, about everything she had learned, about the garden memorial and the flowers that grew across star systems. "Because kindness does not have to be limited by species," Hana said. "Because you needed help and I could give it, that is reason enough." "My parents used to say that," Kes said quietly, "that helping others was the most important thing, even if they were different from us." "Your parents sound wise." "They are gone now." "I know," Hana said gently. "My mother is gone too, but I try to live the way she would have wanted. I try to be kind the way she was kind. Maybe you can do the same. Maybe you can carry your parents' wisdom forward." Kes thought about this. Then they snuggled closer to Hana. "Will you teach me? Will you teach me to help others like you do?" "When you are ready," Hana said. "When the pain is not so fresh. But yes, I will teach you, just like someone once taught me." Months turned into a year. The training program became official. Other camps requested that Hana come teach their workers. She traveled across Nevara Prime, spreading her mother's techniques, showing others how to heal through presence and compassion. Everywhere she went, she brought cuttings from Misun's flowers. She planted them at each camp. She told the story of her mother, the human who had saved an entire species by showing them that healing required more than medicine. It required heart. The Velani refugees helped spread the word. They told their own stories about Misun, about the plague and the healing touch, about the human who had stayed when others left, who had died protecting children who were not her own. Slowly, the official story began to crack. More people heard the truth. Some Velani officials tried to suppress it, but the truth was like water. It found ways around obstacles. 2 years after Hana first heard her mother's name from Liz, she received a message. It was from a Velani government official named Tarek. He wanted to meet with her. Hana was suspicious but agreed. They met in a neutral location, a small cafe in the main settlement. Tarek was old, his skin no longer glowing as brightly as it once had. He looked tired. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "Why am I here?" Hana asked directly. "Because I was one of the children Misun saved," Tarek said quietly. Hana's breath caught. "I was 5 years old when the security forces came. I was on that transport. I remember Misun pushing us into our seats. I remember her telling us to hold on. I remember the explosion." He stared at his hands. "I grew up believing the official story, that it was an accident, that Misun died through bad luck. But when I was older, when I entered government service, I found the real files. I learned the truth." "And you did nothing." Hana's voice was cold. "I did what I could," Tarek said. "I have worked for 20 years to change our laws, to remove the officials who value pride over justice. It has been slow, but progress has been made." He pulled out a document and slid it across the table. "This is a formal apology from the Velani government, an acknowledgement of what happened to Misun. an admission of guilt. Hana stared at the document. Why now? Because the truth has spread too far to contain. Because younger Velani know what happened and demand justice. Because I refuse to die knowing I stayed silent about the woman who saved my life. This does not bring her back. No, Tarek agreed. Nothing can do that, but it is a start. It is truth officially recognized, and there is more. He pulled out another document. The Velani government is establishing a medical training program in Mi-sun's name. It will teach her techniques across the galaxy. Every medical student will learn about the importance of comfort care, of emotional healing, of treating the whole person. We want you to lead this program, Tarek said. We want you to be the voice that carries your mother's legacy forward, not as a whisper but as a declaration. Hana looked at the documents. Part of her wanted to tear them up. Part of her wanted to scream that no program could make up for murder. But another part, the part that was her mother's daughter, saw the opportunity. I want something added, Hana said. Name it. A memorial on Velani Prime, in the place where she died, with the full truth written for all to see. And every year on the day she died, a ceremony, where we remember not just her but all those who sacrificed themselves for others. Done, Tarek said immediately. And I want scholarships for refugees, for those displaced by war, training them in comfort care techniques, giving them skills to heal others. We will establish them. Hana took the documents. I will lead your program, but I will tell the truth, all of it, the good and the bad, the heroism and the cover-up. I would expect nothing less, Tarek said. That is what Mi-sun would have wanted. 3 years after that meeting, Hana stood on Velani Prime. Before her stood a memorial 10 times the size of the one in the refugee settlement. Mi-sun's name was carved in letters that could be seen from far away. The full story was written below in multiple languages. Hundreds of people had gathered, humans and Velani and dozens of other species. Some had been saved by Mi-sun directly. Others had been saved by those she trained. Still others had been saved by the techniques that spread from her teachings across the galaxy. Liz stood beside Hana. The young Velani was 14 now, training to be a doctor. She would specialize in comfort care, carrying forward what Mi-sun had taught Shurev, what Shurev had taught Hana, what Hana had taught her. Kes was there too, now 12 years old and working as a junior aid coordinator. They helped train new refugees in basic care skills. They told everyone who would listen about the human named Hana who had shown them that kindness crossed all boundaries. Hana stepped forward to speak. She looked at the assembled crowd and felt her mother's presence, not as a ghost but as something living, in every person who had learned to heal with compassion, in every gentle touch that comforted suffering, in every act of kindness that asked nothing in return. My mother died 32 years ago, Hana said. She died protecting children. She died believing in something simple but powerful, that we are all connected, that suffering in one being diminishes all beings, that the strongest medicine is not found in advanced technology, but in the simple act of being present for another. She never sought recognition. She never asked for monuments or ceremonies. She just did the work because it needed to be done. But we build this monument anyway, not for her because she is beyond needing such things. We build it for us, to remind ourselves of what matters, to remember that the simplest acts of compassion can change the universe. My mother touched one species, but her teachings have spread to hundreds. She saved millions directly, but through those she taught, she has saved billions. Her legacy is not in stone or metal. It is in every hand that reaches out to comfort another. It is in every heart that chooses kindness over indifference. She is here now, in all of us, in everything we do to ease another's pain. That is the true memorial. That is how she lives forever. Hana placed a single blue flower at the base of the memorial. Around her, hundreds of others did the same. A sea of blue blooms covered the ground. Me son's gift, grown across star systems, brought home at last. As the ceremony ended and people began to leave, a small Velani child approached Hana. They were no more than 4 years old, holding their parents' hand. "Are you Hana?" the child asked. "I am. My teacher says you teach people how to help others. Will you teach me when I am big?" Hana knelt down. She saw in this child the same earnest desire to help that had driven her mother, the same desire that drove Liz and Kes and thousands of others across the galaxy. "Yes," Hana said, "when you are big enough I will teach you, and you will teach others, and they will teach others, and it will go on forever." "Like a circle," the child said. "Exactly like a circle," Hana agreed, "a circle with no end." The child smiled and ran back to their parent. Hana stood and looked at the memorial one last time. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the carved stone. Her mother's name glowed in that light. "Thank you, Mom," Hana whispered. "Thank you for showing me what really matters." She felt no response because none was needed. The answer was all around her, in the people continuing to arrive with flowers, in the students learning to heal with gentle hands, in the children dreaming of helping others, in the simple, persistent choice to be kind. Her mother had planted seeds. Hana had helped them grow, and now a forest stood where once there had been only fear and death. That was legacy, that was love, that was enough.